This is Harvard. Even geniuses get rejected. We need to do everything we can.
I'm about to go at my interview. Do you really need to be jumping all over me right now? You're nuts.
I've always been a fan of Ben Stiller's. I feel like at the beginning of the movie, there's these scenes that feel like, oh, they're maybe familiar Ben Stiller scenes from other movies that he's done. But then the movie launches in this kind of odd, unexpected direction, and I thought it would be interesting to use him because I think the audience's expectations will be like, oh, this will be one of a certain kind of movie, and then it'll, pivot in a way that I think will be fun and subversive.
I think he and Mike are a very good fit because even though they have different styles, both writers, both directors, both actors, both very driven guys in their own way, while also kind of having the element of comedy.
What do you think, Troy?
I go to Harvard.
I love working with Ben. We were having a conversation about millennials and Gen X and all of these sorts of things, and then I was thinking the quintessential movie about Gen Xers is Reality Bites, and here's the man who directed it is standing right next to me. Ben has a body of work that I admire so much, and to get to act opposite him is astonishing and exciting.
We're not poor, Brad.
In some circles, yeah.
Oh, what circles? The 1%?
Doing that scene with Ben Stiller, that scene was the whole thing that drew me into the movie, and I hope it'll be the scene that draws audiences into the movie and into Brad's mind and his anxieties and his turmoil. Getting to do that scene with him was like one of the highlights of my career so far.
Sometimes I worry that people think of me as a failure.
Oh, that's right, you have your little thing. Oh, that is a cool thing that you've done. That is good stuff. One of the great things about working with him in the scene is that it really made me realize how kind of alive and in the moment he is and how responsive he is. And that's the key to it, I think, for acting, that you can really bounce off each other and you just react to the person in the moment. And if they're really listening and responsive, and it was just great to be able to do that.
I kept thinking about status anxiety and how in this world we are so lately comparing ourselves to not just keeping up with the Joneses, but literally keeping up with the Kardashians, is feeling like there are people who are living these billionaire lifestyles, and somehow we feel like even if we have a lot, that we don't feel like we've done enough or have enough.
You're 50 years old and you still think that the world was made for you.
I'm 47.
I think part of this whole idea of like the keeping up with the Kardashians, like the trickle down of that is, social media and how we kind of curate our lives for others through these apps and websites and, like social media sites, and how that also adds to this sense that other people have things that you don't have or are living a certain lifestyle that you don't live, and you at the same time are putting out this version of your own life that then creates varying feelings of either pleasure or anxiety for people.
One of the things that I really loved about the script was the journey that Brad goes on, and it feels like one kind of a film, but actually there's something very rich and quite complex going on in it, I think, and Brad's journey is a very complicated journey, and it's one that, certainly I relate to, and I think a lot of people will.
The only person's opinion that you should really care about is mine.
What's your opinion?
I love you.
I kept thinking about father-son relationships, thinking about status anxiety, and somehow wanted to merge those two worlds, two ideas. And I don't know, build up the idea of having a father taking his son on a college tour and having that be more of a referendum on his own success or feelings of failure.
He'd given me the script just to take a look at it. It's one of those things where I read it in one sitting, and I definitely had the feeling, well, I've never read anything like this. I think everybody can identify with kind of being envious of this person's life or that person's life.
I like the idea of a story that is very engaging, very funny, and very accessible, but actually has a lot in there and really touches on a lot of things that the kind of age I'm at now that really resonated with me.
There are just these kind of shifts for Brad as he goes through being envious of people and then kind of realizing that he actually has a very good life with a great son.
Isn't it crazy how we made this kid and now he's this brilliant, amazing person? I'm proud of you.
Dad, you having some kind of nervous breakdown or something?
I thought it was like one of the best scripts I'd ever read. Kept reading it over and over again. I just like the maturity that Troy had.
Your friends sound like dicks. Everybody's just thinking about themselves. The only person that's thinking about you is me.
I think there is kind of a theme of people wanting to belong, which I think kind of everybody can identify with.
I just remember at the age that I went and visited colleges, even though I had a good relationship with my parents, I think you're at the age where you're just really ready to individuate and go out on your own. It's a poignant moment for parents and kids, I think. I consider myself more of a writer, first and foremost. I don't really feel like I always need to direct, but after I wrote this, it just felt like the tone was so delicate that at some point you're experienced enough that it almost feels difficult to try to communicate what you're going for to someone than just doing it yourself.
I love working with Mike, it's great. I like working with someone who's actually written the script as well. I think that's always kind of interesting because you can try different things, you know, and he's an actor as well. And he's got such a great kind of instinct for, not just for comedy, but for what's kind of real as well, what's truthful. I like it when someone's got a really strong sense of what it is that they're going for.
Hey, man.
Be happy,
Love
be
you.
present.
All right.
I love you. It's been hard for me to work with Mike because he's a friend in real life, but he's also one of my heroes creatively, and I've been such an admirer of his for so long. I just keep pinching myself that I'm in this situation and getting to work with him.
It was great. One more time. Here we go. And roll sound.
I just think Mike's a really smart guy and a really sensitive guy. There's really nobody like Mike in terms of the way he writes. I mean, I always like to work with a director who's also written it because you feel like you can go right to the horse's mouth with any question that you might have.
The casting for this movie was a delicate process because I feel like we wanted to find actors who had senses of humor, but at the same time I felt like if we orientated it too much in a comedic direction with casting, that people would have certain kinds of expectations that the movie is just not going to be. It's a thoughtful, deliberative movie as well as having these kind of wild comedic moments.